and then we'll edit all the stuff out and go live on Facebook. All right, welcome everybody to the Anything is Achievable Health Podcast. And so I'm your host, Jimmy Yen. I'm a licensed acupuncturist herbalist here in Austin, Texas. And I'm excited to have on my show today a guest all the way from down under, Shane Gregory. Thank you for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me, Jimmy. Pleasure to be here.
Nice. So Shane is, let me just give you a little background. Shane, he's an licensed acupuncturist, and he has a specialty that not many acupuncturists around the whole world, not even just the US, around the world doesn't have. And he is an addiction specialist. As an acupuncturist, he brings a different view of addiction and how to cope, solve that addiction problem. So I'm excited to pick his brain and so that everybody can learn how they can benefit from acupuncture helping with addiction. So Shane, why don't you start off by just introducing yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Shane. I'm from Noosa, Australia. So the nice sunny coast on the beach up here. It's nearly winter now, so it's not as hot as it normally is. Been an acupuncturist for about 10 years now. I've been working in the field of addiction for 16. I started in that industry as a personal trainer and a massage therapist. And I got into it because I myself was an addict and had a lot of mental health issues. So I can share a little bit more about my story if you'd like.
Yeah. Why don't we start with your story about how you got into acupuncture, and then we can transition to how you got into acupuncture addiction. I'm not addicted to acupuncture.
Well, I am addicted to acupuncture.
That's a great thing. But how to treat addiction?
Yeah, it's basically one and the same thing, really. So I have basically from the beginning. So when I was 13, it was like my rites of passage. So I walked in on my brother using heroin at the age of 13. And by the time I was 14, he was walking into my bedroom saying, "Hey, can you help me get off heroin?" And I was like, "Sure." And so basically what we did that night was took amphetamines and smoked weed and had my first cigarette and drunk alcohol. And that was my first episode of rehabilitation at the age of 14. And I thought, well, this was like a really, I'll never forget that night. It was like one of the most amazing nights of my life. It was, I just had, the first time I ever took drugs and had a really great time. I'll just be honest about it. Yeah. And what happened was I in that moment, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to work in drug rehab, and it was like my rites of passage into working in that. But what ended up actually happening was by the time I was 19, I was using so much drugs myself. I ended up with psychosis and a lot of other mental health issues. I was depressed. I was highly anxious, paranoid. I actually ended up in a psych ward. And it was in that point of time that I actually started using heroin. And in the using of heroin, I was able to basically close off all of the other voices that I was getting through psychosis. And I had the epiphany in that I can't go down this path anymore, and I need to figure out a way out of here. And that was when I just went cold turkey, got completely clean.
Wow.
And, asked for some signs about what I should be doing with my life, and heard an ad, become a personal trainer in 6 weeks. So I did. And so I started studying. I heard the saying, an idle mind is the devil's playground. And I thought, right, I've got to use my mind. And I started studying, and in studying personal training, I fell in love with the human body. And it was like love at ATP. I heard the word ATP and energy transfer in the body. And I was just like, what is this? I need to know more. And from there, I went on and studied remedial massage. And had all this weird stuff happening to me when I was massaging people. And I don't know what was going on. And I was just like really loving it. And I'd leave there feeling high after getting massaged myself. So I was like, oh, there's something more to this. I just couldn't put my finger on what it was.
Yeah.
And I still didn't feel quite satisfied with that. I was just like, I need something else. And I had never finished high school, and I'd always sort of punished myself about it. And I was like, right, I'm going to go finish high school. I was 23 at this time. And so I enrolled to finish high school. And at the end of finishing high school, my brother was actually going to jail. And as he was walking out the door, he hands me this book. And he says, my counselor gave me this. You should probably read it. And I was like, oh, what is it? And I look at the book, and there's a picture of a yin yang symbol, a 5 element star, and a marijuana leaf. And it's like, and the title of the book's Higher and Higher. I was like, what's this? Like, yeah, it's like, what's this book about? And so I read the book, and I read it in like 3 days. And it was a book about Chinese medicine and drug addiction. And it felt like that book was literally written to me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, got on the phone, I ring the author. I'm like, can I get an appointment in? And I was just super, like, it was a crazy time. And I got an appointment that weekend. And within 2 hours of talking to this guy, I was just, this is it. This is my path. This is what I need to be doing for the rest of my life. I found it. And then after that, I worked in rehabs as a PT and massage therapist for this team of people. And that's sort of history. That's where it started.
Wow. It sounds like you like to get high.
I do like to get high, Jimmy. And so do a lot of other people.
Exactly. But it's good that it's interesting because, I mean, obviously people go through drugs to get a high, but then you actually had that experience going through massage. And do you get that same experience with acupuncture?
Yeah, and that's one of the big things is it provides that exact same experience that people are looking for. Yeah. A lot of out of body experiences and that free flow of energy through the body and
but definitely a better way of getting a high. A high 100%. That actually benefits you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just takes away from you.
Exactly.
So you started, so fast forward now, you have your own clinic. Where's your clinic located?
In Noosa, in Sunshine Coast.
Okay.
So Queensland, Australia.
Okay, nice. And so you're specializing in addiction. You've had many experiences. Can you share like a case study, like someone who's listening right now, they're struggling with addiction. Well, let me ask you before we go to the case study, what type of addiction? Because addiction is a broad term. You can be addicted to anything. So what are you meaning when you say the word addiction?
Well, great question. So essentially it's any addiction. However, for myself, I prefer to work with drug addicts because that's my sort of area of, I know that world very well.
Yeah.
I have in the past through working in other rehabs, worked with eating disorders and gambling addiction and sex addiction and shopping addictions and whatnot, but they're not my forte. When it comes to that sort of stuff, I like to sort of get someone else involved as well. Yeah. I can do all the acupuncture and whatnot, but I'd like to get someone else involved that's actually been through that experience, because it's very important for people that are addicts to be able to know that the person that they're talking to has been through what they're going through and is relatable. And honestly, like the main reason is because, excuse my language, they have a really good bullshit meter. They know when someone's lying to them. So so when it comes to that sort of stuff, I'm more focused on the drug side of things.
Okay, great. So can you share with us any cases, like experiences, like what a drug addict that's listening to this podcast right now, what could they expect? Like what's what can they expect when they, utilize acupuncture for the addiction?
Mm-hmm. The perfect case study is my brother. So he had been through every other rehab that there was possible. So in 2019, he was he'd just come out of a 3-month program that cost $60,000. And my parents rang me about a month later, and they were supposed to come and visit me, and they're like, "We can't come. Your brother's relapsed." And I was like, right? And they're like, we don't know what to do anymore. We're done. And I said, look, there's only one thing you haven't tried. Send him up here.
Yeah.
And he can live with me. And basically what we did was, I treated him every day. We got him on herbs. I got him doing Tai Chi, meditation, breath work, eating like a medicinal diet, taking supplements, regulating his body clock, all those sorts of things, getting his lifestyle in order. And within 2 months, my parents came to visit, and they were like, who is this person? In 26 years, they'd never seen him like this. Wow. And yeah, it was crazy. And he's still clean 2 years later.
Beautiful. Wow, that's impressive. So you kind of mentioned, it's not just acupuncture.
No,
right?
It's definitely not. It's much more than that.
So what can people expect? Like when they come to your clinic, going through the program, what can they expect?
Yeah. So the first thing that everyone's different. So it's completely individual to each and every single person. As you know, Chinese medicine's very, very integrated and holistic. So it covers everything from looking, is this person have a value system? Does this person have a purpose in life? Are they eating well? Are they taking any medications? What's their lifestyle doing? Are they sleeping well? Are they moving and exercising? Do they breathe right? And it's individual to each and every single person. So we've got to look at, where is that person at? What's missing? What are they doing right? Because a lot of people that who are addicts, they're in a lot of shame.
Yeah.
And so they think that everything that they're doing in life is wrong. And so what we look at doing is showing them what they're doing is right. Because a lot of their behaviors are the same as entrepreneurs. It's true. And what's celebrated in the entrepreneur is shamed in the drug addict. But they show exactly the same discipline. They show the same consistency. They just do it in a really destructive way. And so it's really about getting them to change their mindset and getting them to realize, hey, I'm actually doing a lot of things right in my life. And we can kind of guide them to say, hey, if you use that to do, say, martial arts or yoga, you will actually get a better healthy body and a constructive attitude.
So it sounds like the addiction part, you're 100% correct. Entrepreneurs, we're addicted to success. We're addicted, as an acupuncturist, we're addicted to help people. So it's like, they don't need to change that addiction. They just need to change the vehicle or the thing that they're applying that addiction to. So
correct.
Whether
it's healthy or not.
Exactly. If it's going to benefit them and their family and their community and so forth. So it's not just so everybody knows, addicts listening, they don't think you're just going to go in and just get some few needles. Because I know there's a lot of, popular detox needles in the ear. It's not like you just come in, you put a few needles in the ears and they're going to, quit.
That's not for like the first 4 days. So here's the thing. So it's like all of that stuff's great. It's amazing. Like what you're talking about, the NADA protocols, awesome for someone going through detox. Like the first 4 days, if they're coming off like heroin or meth or whatever, that's really going to help them go through that detox process. It's going to help them withdraw. It's going to reduce their symptoms. It's not going to get rid of their symptoms, but it's going to severely reduce their symptoms. And it's going to help them to downregulate their nervous system. So maybe they can sleep, they can eat, go through that process. But that's only the first 4 days. That's the easy part. The hard part is like, retraining the mindset after that. And so then we're looking at, treating the person. It's always just treat the individual person where they're at on that day.
That's beautiful. So what can an addict expect? Because one of the questions that they're probably going to ask is, how long is it going to take?
Great question. That depends on them. So this is where it comes down to a bit of like coaching and mindset stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's so we don't look at relapse like it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when relapse is part of the journey, and so like how long does it take? I mean, life. It's a if you're a full-on addict, you know, and that's been using drugs for 5 years plus every single day, you're looking at the rest of your life to keep things regulated. It's as simple as that. It's a lifelong journey. To get someone off drugs, you could do it in a week. It that bit's easy. It's the addressing all of the patterns, the behaviors, all that sort of stuff. It's the rest of your life. It's simple. It's just a matter of getting a purpose and finding something to focus on that's more positive in life and moving towards that. And it's everyone goes through their struggles. It doesn't matter who they are, whether they're a drug addict or not. Everyone still struggles and goes through challenges and problems. It's just whether you end up in a hole with a needle hanging out of your arm. That's the only difference.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, so if a drug addict's coming to you and for help, initially you're going to be doing a lot of your services to, of course, get the drug out of their system, and so that their body's not reliant upon that drug. But then you're also going to, in the meantime, teach them life skills on how to, you know, because it's a lifelong thing, like you said, it's a lifelong thing that they have to practice. It's not like, oh, we stick a needle and magically you are no longer addicted. So you basically, while you're helping them with the drug, you provide them with the tools that they can use at home by themselves to maintain that success that they achieve in your clinic. Would that be an accurate summary?
100%. That is exactly it. And it's very hard. It's hard work.
Hard work.
It's very hard work. But it's also it's kind of like you got to choose your fight. It's like it's really hard to be a drug addict, and it's really hard not to be. So
you choose your hard.
Choose your hard. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Great. And so holistic approach, you go through everything: diet, nutrition, you do acupuncture, you do herbs, you help them with their supplements. Do they have to? So one question will be, even though, you know, I just mentioned you'll provide them tools to help them so that they can, you know, utilize those tools at home by themselves. But would you recommend that they still continue, you know, acupuncture or herbs or nutrition, like on a maintenance basis, or how does that work?
For the rest of their life, 100%. Yep. I'd be at the minimum, if they've been clean for 12 months, I'd go down to monthly just to help them keep regulated, help them to keep their system ticking over, because some of the long-term effects from really bad drug addictions can be lifelong. It's as simple as that. You know, the digestive issues, like teeth issues, bone density issues, organ problems, and just keep everything functioning over all the time. And they just need constant maintenance, and it just helps keep the body regulated. But if they do, you know, if someone, there's always the outlier that does really well, that becomes, you know, a guru in qigong or something, and they know how to do it themselves. Or they become an acupuncturist themselves. That does happen quite a lot.
Great. So I'm not familiar. I don't treat drug addiction, so I'm not familiar with that. So when would be the best time for someone to start your program? Is there a best time?
When they're ready.
What does that mean?
Good question. So when they want to do it for themselves, not when they're being told by their partner, not when they're being told by their parents, this is like, we need you to go to rehab. This style of working with addiction is about doing it for yourself and really wanting to change. And it's usually people that have been through rehab. They've done years of psychotherapy. They've done years of counseling. and they're just not getting it. They're like, they know the inside out of what's going on in their mind, and they just can't stop. Like, they still, you know, as soon as they're triggered, the next thing they know, they're knocking on their dealer's door. It's for the people that have been through all of that sort of stuff, and they go, oh, actually, there's something else. I need to do something. I'm still chasing. What am I chasing? And that's one of the first sort of things that I sort of look at with people, is like, a lot of addiction works based off trauma therapy. Now these days, it's been very popularized. That's only one part of it, you know, because the other side of it is, and drug addicts know this, is they're chasing something. What are they chasing? And so I look at it like this: they're on a treadmill, and they're running on a treadmill, and they're running away from their traumas and their shames and all of their problems. And they're running after this high bliss, oneness. They're chasing, you know, some of them are chasing gods and whatever on psychedelics and whatnot. And so until they stop and realize that they're on a treadmill and they're chasing something that they can never get to, and they're running away from something that they can never escape, and they realize, oh, I'm on a treadmill, I can get off at any time, and they stop, and that's when we show them the middle way.
Wow. So let me just clarify that. So it doesn't mean that a drug addict has to go through all those conventional drug rehabs in order to start a program with you. It is purely when they have made the decision for themselves, whether they've done any drug rehab or not. They just made the decision, I want to stop. I don't want to be addicted to this drug. They can come into your clinic and start the program. Is that correct?
And they're ready to do the work. Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I just don't want people to think that you have to try 5 drug rehabs and fail at them before they try acupuncture.
Absolutely not. I'd start with us first.
Exactly. Okay, great. So anything last words you want to share about addiction, drug addiction, or about yourself?
Great question. Is there anything else I'd like to share? Yes. I'd actually like to share it with the rest of the world. What we really need to stop doing is judging drug addicts and shaming them and making them out like they're the worst people on the earth. They're not, you know, and this is, you know, I've worked in this industry for 16 years and I've seen everything. I've seen everything from street kids, which is, you know, and you full on junkies on the street, to, you know, and that's what, when people hear the word drug addict, that's what they think, you know, that's the first picture, is the teeth falling out and the whatnot. The truth of the matter is that it's actually police officers, it's lawyers, it's real estate agents, it's judges, it's, you know, it's people that you wouldn't even expect to be and everyone can be afflicted by it, and it doesn't just have to be, you know, a person on the street that's got no hope and no dreams and whatnot. And the more we reduce the stigma around addiction and saying that it's a bad thing and that we need to change it and just look at it in a more positive light, like I was saying before, in the sense of like, they've got the same behaviors and the same attitudes as entrepreneurs. Well, let's just help them find that inside of them and find their actual true nature and guide them to that, instead of shaming them and labeling them and putting them into boxes. And you know, let's help them regulate. And like, absolutely, there's traumas in there, like, let's help them heal instead of putting them in a box and throwing them in the gutter.
No, that's beautiful. We all need to stop, you know, actually just judging people in general, and actually more about understanding people, less judging, more understanding. That's great.
Absolutely.
So Shane, where can people find you? If they are in Australia, where can they find you? Where should they contact you?
Yep. So my website's www.sunmed.com.au. I actually don't have anything on there about my addiction stuff at the moment. That'll be going up in the next few weeks.
Okay.
I've sort of just been doing it all by word of mouth for the past couple of years. I've got some counselor friends that sort of refer to me.
Yep.
My clinic is in Noosa Junction in the beautiful Sunshine Coast, and that's same name, Sun Med.
Awesome. I will make sure I put that in the post on all of these below this video, and so that everybody can get access to that. Or if anybody knows someone who has an addiction problem in Australia, you know, you can always, you don't have to be local. You can
or anywhere around the world.
Oh, anywhere, exactly. Anywhere
I'm happy to
around the
do
world.
Zoom. I'm happy to do Zoom calls with people. And the other thing is I actually don't run a rehab. Yeah. So it's not, I don't look at it as rehabilitation. So what we call it is the WOW mentorship. So it's the way of wellness. And so it's not about rehabilitating people, because people don't need to be rehabilitated. What people need to learn is how to be well.
Yeah.
And so we run it as a mentorship. It's not about rehabilitation at all. Yeah.
Perfect. So so then let me correct myself. Internationally, you know, if anybody, doesn't matter where you are in the world, you know of anybody who's struggling with drug addiction and they are ready to make a change, contact Shane and he can help. So if you want to make a trip to his clinic, Australia is beautiful. You can book like a month, maybe a month at a time. Just go there, live there. I've been to Brisbane, you know, and I love Brisbane. And Melbourne, it's beautiful. I mean, I would want to go back. So reach the contact info. If you have any questions about addiction, you can always reach out to Shane and he can help you. Well, Shane, thank you for being on the show. And this was a great interview. Lots of great information that some of it I didn't even know. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you for having me, Jimmy. I really appreciate you trying to get me out there a bit more.
You're very welcome.